Guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Doom Scroll podcast. Boy, do we have an episode for you. But before we dive into that, Calvin, how's it going? How's life? How you feeling?
I'm feeling exhausted. I feel like it as we're gonna talk about, there's just a lot going on, and it's been pretty rough last couple days. Um, Personally wise, things are going normal. Just working. But yeah, I think it's kind of scary to be on social media right now with everything that's going on. What about you?
Yeah, same. It's just, I feel like every week there is something, or every day, but definitely every week there's been kind of a big event or something that we're arguing over. I was telling Des, I can't believe we are in a place where it's like every other week we are arguing whether someone being shot to death is justified. What country is this? Where are we? So, regardless of where you stand, it's just not okay. um, yeah. And obviously, we're going to be talking about the most recent incidents, but I definitely have felt like my nervous system has been more on edge, especially this last one. And it was yesterday. And I feel like when these things happen, my brain goes into like detective mode. I just need to find all the information, everything that's going on when it comes out, and I get super distracted. And I think what I'm looking for is someone to just like someone on the right to fucking say some, actually
Yeah.
not just follow the usual MAGA talking points. And I mean, I saw a lot of a lot more people than the Renee Good situation, kind of be like, what the fuck? And it's definitely gotten to the point where, as a business owner, I feel like I can't just stay silent. There's just no way. And it's a fitness, nutrition, but it's all encompassing, right? It's like your life, health, mental health included. And it's a strange feeling to just, I have seen a lot of fitness influencers and they're just kind of going on and with their, regular scheduled programming. And either I'm so frozen I can't post or I I like just don't feel comfortable just posting regular shit. And it's to that point where I'm just like, how can people still say that this is okay and just keep ignoring it and keep living their lives and without any acknowledgement of this is not good. So yeah, fun times.
Yeah, it's definitely scary, and it's harder. It feels like it's harder almost every day to just get through the day normally, and it's almost like you have to compartmentalize and like I can't even think about what's happening in the world right now because I have work I have to get done. I have, whatever I'm dealing with. And it's it's scary that you have to do that and you can't, I don't know, it's just it's it's rough, It's definitely
Yeah,
rough.
it is. And you're kind of in this spot where you're kind of like, I don't know what to do. Like it's just strange. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. I did, however, so I'm officially a British citizen now. So if I need to get up and leave, nah, I wouldn't leave without Des and kids and stuff. But uh, it feels kind of surreal because now you know how like right now it's kind of embarrassing to be an American, depending on what side you're on. But now I'm just gonna be like, uh, nah, I'm a British citizen, definitely not American. Except my accent would kind of give that away, but at least I can say, well, I'm also a British citizen. Like, I have nothing to do with American. I'm just kidding. Uh, but it does feel kind of nice to have an option just in case shit hits the fan. I'll say that. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm on my path trying to get Canadian citizenship too. So
That's
that's
cool.
that's been a little rough just because the connection to my ancestor is like from the 1800s. Like I think think documents before like 1914 aren't really easily accessible, so that's been kind of hard to track down. But I'm crossing my fingers that I can and have some sort of safety net to get out of here if I have to.
Do you know, like, which person in your family was a Canadian citizen, or are you just kind of checking to see if there's a Canadian
No, so
citizen?
my great great grandfather was a Canadian citizen. He was born in Ontario, which technically, I mean, he's a Canadian citizen, but back then he was considered British, because
Mm,
they didn't change over until after the 1800s. Uh, so he still qualifies as Canadian, so I should technically qualify as a Canadian citizen as well. Um, but they didn't have like proper birth certificates back then. It was mostly like census documents and baptism documents. So it's just been hard trying to track down uh, what I need and making sure like I have to like I've found the documents through like ancestry.com. Like I've found like census, I found um baptism documents, but I haven't found where the originals are and how to get certified copies of those. So it's just it's a long process.
yeah, that definitely sounds like a tedious, long process. I
Yeah.
hope you're able to find that out though, because that would be cool.
Yeah.
Do you know what your chances are of, yeah, getting all
I
that approved
I
and
I have no idea. I mean, they just changed the law. It was either December or beginning of January. They just changed the law. So it used to be you could only be like a Canadian citizen or qualify if your parents were born in Canada. That's the only way you could do it. Um, but now they've opened it up, and there's kind of not matching responses. So some people say that it can go as far back as you need to. Some are saying it's only like up to two ancestors that have left Canada. So it's kind of confusing on what is the actual truth. So I'm just trying to go through it and best case scenario, I'm able to get citizenship, and at least I have, a backup plan. Worst case scenario, I don't. And then I have to look at other situations, but that would be the simplest option if I have to leave the country.
yeah, that makes sense. Hopefully that would work out, and I'm assuming then you could get a spousal visa. Um, yeah,
I would
for your
have to
spouse.
sponsor. Yeah, I'd have to sponsor. Um, uh, yeah, so that would definitely be different, but it sounds like it's not as uh it's not as difficult. So um yeah.
It's pretty difficult in the UK. We've done some looking around and some research, and for a spousal visa, I mean, any visa, it's like because you have to pay the NHS fee
Mm,
also on top of it. So for like a 2.5 year visa, it's like $5,000, uh, and that's per person.
hmm
That would be like
$15,000. Yeah.
$15,000. And yeah, so it gets very pricey. But you also have to do that. So in order to get like permanent, uh, whatever to remain, resident to remain, uh, after the next you have to stay for 5 years. So you have to pay that 15,000 for the first 2.5 years, and then you got to pay it again for the next 2.5 years,
hmm
and then you have to pay again to file your permanent, residence, and that is also expensive. And
Yeah.
they don't make it easy. They do not make it easy. So yeah, money. I don't know how people can really afford it. To be real, and I know they're having immigration issues, or the Trumper parts of that of their
Mhm.
country are upset about the immigration. And I know they're asylum seekers, but outside of that, how would I don't think anyone else could afford it any other way than asylum. Uh,
Mhm.
so it's like, yeah, I could go over there in emergency, but I'd be by myself, so I don't know
Yeah.
that I would want to do that.
And the scary thing with asylum too is like you can go over and apply for asylum, but if you, at least with Canada, I'm not sure if this is for all the other countries, but if you apply for asylum and you aren't granted asylum, like they go through your case and all that, you can't apply for anything else to get in the country. Like you kind of screw yourself over. So, and that was, I saw a lot of videos of Canadians talking about that because it became like, especially when Trump became back in office last year, there was a lot of misinformation about like Canada's opening up asylum for LGBTQ people, like get over here now, do this, this, and this, and a lot of people did, you know, and it comes out that like, well, they're not really doing that. Like, yeah, they'll they'll bring you in, they'll watch your case, but really, unless living in the US means like your death, they don't consider it asylum, at least at that time. And so a lot of people were going over and trying to get asylum, and then they get denied, and now they have no recourse, any other option of trying to get to Canada. So it's a little scary how misinformation works, and like how it can really, like, you can't just jump on something. You really have to do research and make sure that like you're doing, everything that you need to do.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Anything with visa or government paperwork, it gives me anxiety because I think when we were looking at the visa stuff, if like for the UK, if you do something wrong or like if they don't accept your visa application, they don't give you your money back.
Hmm.
So they just keep, like thousands of dollars. And they're like, that's fucking robbery, first of
Yeah.
all. So then it's like you want to make sure so you'd have to like hire a lawyer to make sure you're doing everything right because you don't want to
Hmm.
lose a bunch of money just, basically giving them the money because they didn't approve it. So, lots of hurdles and steps. And it's funny because, that's what the mag is always like, if you don't like it here, then leave. And it's like,
Hmm.
damn, we're trying. We're
Yeah.
trying, man. We want to help out,
Right.
but yeah, I think it's definitely been on our minds, especially more urgent with the stuff that's going on with ICE, especially when they're talking about, uh, making it so they can just come in your house without a warrant. But what the fuck is that? All these things that are normally against the law, they're just telling them that they could do, and it's bullshit, complete bullshit. So, but hey, so I'm more than just American now.
You're gonna have to
So
start practicing that accent.
I know. I'm not even gonna try now because it would be awful. But I feel like if you live there for a long enough time, you probably start picking it up even subconsciously, because that just kind of happens. I don't know if it'd ever go full force accent because I feel like you have to be there when you're a kid for that to happen. But you never know. But there's something else I was gonna say on that topic. But yeah, my British passport is on the way now. Should be here in a week or two. And I'm just excited because it's gonna have the right gender marker on it.
Huh.
And I'm still gonna get my US passport. We're gonna start that process next week before the government shut down because it's gonna be some delays.
Hmm.
Uh, and yeah, I just I'm legally recognized as male absolutely everywhere in the United States. Birth certificate, uh, driver's license, social security, everything. But they still will not put a male thing on my gender marker. And I just don't understand. I feel like if you are legally recognized as male absolutely everywhere else, it's more confusing if it doesn't match. But I'm like, at least the Brits are still sane and, they get so if I'm traveling anywhere, I'm just using that. Um, but I know if I want to get back in, if like I want to visit or something, I'm going to need a
Hmm.
US passport. I think I need it even to get out of the country initially. Uh, and I hope the mismatch isn't an issue, but yeah, it's fucked.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
at least I can travel around Europe and not out myself, you know? So
Fun
on
times.
that note, should we dive into where this is all coming from?
Yeah,
Do you want to get the first one going, or do you
sure.
want to talk about the TikTok situation?
No, I think we get the big one out of the way. So over the weekend, January 24th, Alex Peretti is a 37-year-old ICU nurse and VA hospital worker, was fatally shot by U.S. Border Patrol agents, ICE, during an immigration enforcement action in Minneapolis. This follows the earlier shooting of Renee Good, marking the second federal killing in the city this month. Witness videos contradict official accounts showing Peretti unarmed and protesting. Protests erupted with crowds gathering in Seattle and Minneapolis demanding accountability. Um, Basically, what ICE is saying was that he was armed, he had a gun in his hand, they felt threatened for their life, which is why they shot him. Um, According to video and your eyes, and other witness statements, he had a phone in his hand. He did have a handgun on him in his waist, but he had a license to carry, which, if you make it legal for someone to carry a gun, it's legal for someone to carry a gun and is not give justified reason for shooting. Um, so if anyone wants to say, well, he had a gun on him, well, then you know what? I agree we should not be allowed to carry guns. So take it away from everyone, you know?
Yeah,
But it was legal. So, whatever. I did see one person who was like analyzing the video, and you can see like the police officer or the ICE agent, like they're beating the shit out of him, basically spraying him, hitting him. And you see an ICE agent reach in and he pulls the handgun out. So he pulls it from his waist and he's walking away, and that's when the gunshots go off. So he didn't even have uh, the handgun
again,
on him when he
yeah,
was shot to death, so there was no risk of life. Like, he had been disarmed, even if he had the handgun in his hand when they approached him and they felt like their life was at risk, the handgun was taken away by the time they shot him, so that risk was gone. um so yeah, I mean, eh, I, I don't know. It's really rough, like, how are we in less than a month? We have two murders of U.S. citizens. These aren't immigrants, which that doesn't make it justified at all either. But two U.S. citizens, uh, and the government's just acting like it's normal, or that it's justified, and it's just absolutely disgusting. This isn't, like, again, we're seeing agents who aren't fully trained, can't handle situations, and are being so aggressive to protesters. Yeah. I mean, we had, what was it, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, another protester was shot in the eye with a paintball or
saw
whatever,
that. Yeah, it's
and he's
a
now
pepper ball or something. I don't
pepperball,
can't
yeah,
remember. Yeah,
and he's now blind, for the rest of his life, at least in that eye, and you're never supposed to aim those at someone's face. Like, like, a lot of the tactics that they're using, whether it's, suppression bullets or pepper bullets or mace or whatever, like, it's not supposed to be aimed at the face. It's supposed to be either on the ground or the body. Like, but it's, I don't know. It's scary. What do you think?
yeah, yeah, definitely scary, especially since that guy was basically a kid. Very young, and I think he was a trans guy, but I don't think the majority figured that out. Thank God, because that would have been bad for him and the community. I feel like, but yeah, it's the as I just keep hearing all the like right wing talking points of, oh well, he shouldn't have been there with a gun. He was a paid agitator and all that stuff. But if you watch the video footage, I saw a lot of things floating around where there's multiple clips floating around where they're saying that he's reaching for his gun, but he's not because the gun had already been pulled out of his pants by the time they say he's reaching for his gun. And so he was disarmed. And I was trying to figure out where the first shot came from. And it was either from like the left or the right hand side of the guy who initially pulled the gun. And it, I don't even understand. It looks like the guy next to him, both guys, would have seen him pull that gun out of his pants because they're trying to be like, maybe when he was yelling gun as he was
Mhm,
pulling it, if he was, that they were confused and there was a miscommunication. And then they just got spooked and started firing, which,
mhm.
okay, let's say that does happen. They're still responsible and it was
Yeah.
still not okay. Why does the administration just insist on gaslighting the public? That
Mhm,
is the biggest thing. It's like, here is the situation. That is terrifying. But what is more terrifying is how the administration is handling it and not keeping anyone accountable, giving absolute immunity to their ICE agents who are fucking up. And I don't understand why they can't be like, this was an awful situation and it was not handled properly. Here's what we're going to do
mhm.
moving forward to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Not only
But
are they
no,
gaslighting the citizens, but they're also blocking local officials from doing an investigation.
yeah, yeah, it's a lot, and I think that is the part that I keep getting stuck on, and just being like, I cannot believe the blatant lies coming out of the White House for the second time because they did this the first time with Renee Good, and they did it again, like again. And this one I don't feel like is holding up as well. I think it's probably because he's a dude and he's a veteran, or he worked at the VA, and, he was basically the typical white American that Americans would say would make America great again, right? Legally owned a gun. All these things that would kind of, be in the conservative side of things. Like maybe that's why they're not being as rough about it. And I've seen some Republicans say this is still a sad situation, which they didn't say about Renee Good. But then there's still the conspiracies. They're like, he was a paid assassin and he came to, make ultimate damage and he had a gun and he drew his gun or whatever. Like they say that he basically was pointing at the officers. I don't know if you watched Christy Noam's address and how she described the turn of events, but it was just straight up lies. And there was this video, which was brilliant, where they put how she was describing the line of events and they put the other video underneath like as she was describing it to show
Mhm.
just how much of a lie it was. And I don't even know, where do we go from here? If people cannot even see, or if they can't even keep people accountable to do their jobs correctly, what the fuck are we doing? Like, what the fuck? And on that note too, so did happen to get my dad's opinion on the last shooting incident with Renee Good. And uh I was afraid to ask him because, I didn't want to get political. I know he's a conservative, voted for Trump, all of
Mhm.
that. But I just had this gut feeling that his police training would overpower the MAGA training. And I e I was right in that, it's like he's a cop first before he's a Republican. But yeah, so his, like, 25 years as a sheriff in LA and then working for, post police officer standards in training, it's a long thing to say, for years. So he agreed that the officer placed himself in harm's way and it was
Mhm.
not justified. And that made me feel hopeful because I'm like, my dad saw that still. Despite his political beliefs, he was still able to distinguish that no, he did not approach that correctly. And so that felt kind of good to hear that, gave me a little more hope that maybe more people will be able to do that despite their political affiliations. But my dad's just one person. And it's not always like that,
Well, and he
and
also
I
he's
just
had the training,
yeah.
where most people don't have that training. They don't understand that like there is a legal there is a reason why cops go through so much training. Like it's not just, you're justified to just shoot for whatever reason. Like you have to have so many things happen, to justify, or else, you could lose your job, you could face, prosecution. Like there's like no one should be out there with total immunity,
No,
no one.
that doesn't exist. Like, why would we
Yeah.
give that to ICE agents? It's ridiculous. Yeah, the ones with the least amount of training get ultimate immunity. Yeah, it makes no fucking sense. But again, it's just their response and how they're handling these things from the Epstein file. Like how long they've been lying to us for so long, and from the Epstein file release, just lie after lie after lie after lie, and then with all of this, lie, 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 and it's just like, how do people not see this? I don't know. I do not know. I did not need to watch a video of some like liberal commentator to tell me what to think about this video, because you could see it with your own fucking eyes. You don't even need to tell anyone. What do you think about this? It's like it's
Yeah.
very clear and yet not clear enough.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen this escalation happening over the last year. I mean, we've seen videos of women who were following too closely behind ICE agents, like following cars, and they're like, "We're just trying to get home," and they get ripped out of their cars violently. It's not, "Hey, we need you to come with us." It's violently ripping people out. It's hitting people. I mean, it's insane the level of violence that is allowed to happen. Like if our police were doing that, it wouldn't be okay, So why is it okay that these ICE agents are doing that, And I did see one commentator, he was breaking down the video, and his view of it, which I don't know if it's true. It's really hard to see when it's, a phone video from so far away, but his view, he's a retired sniper from the military. But his view was the guy pulls the gun out of the guy's waistband, and when he's turning away, he accidentally fires the gun on the ground, and that's what sets the other officers off for shooting the guy. So, either way, they fucked up, but I don't know. It's just scary, and we've got, you've got Tim Walz, threatening to get ICE out of there. I know he talked about bringing in the National Guard to protect Minnesotans. I don't know if that happened.
I think
Obviously
he
not.
did activate it, but
I
I
don't
don't
know
know
how
what.
that's working,
Yeah,
but it's, we're definitely in a scary space. I mean, that's Minnesota, like I definitely think Minnesota was targeted because of Tim Walz, because he ran against Trump. So there's, a bias there. And it's scary when you think about California, because, we've got Gavin Newsom who's, stroking the fire with Trump as well, um, justifiably. I think that Trump deserves it, but, it's scary to think like we could be the next Minnesota. Like we've already had ICE agents, around taking people, but like we haven't had, at least that have been purported or seen, we haven't had any like deaths of protesters or whatever. And so it's really scary when you're looking at like it feels like we're watching a different country. It doesn't feel like this is America. This feels like, we're watching, some war torn country.
mhm,
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah. It's also interesting to hear. So I follow this guy. He's an American who he moved to the UK in 2020 to be with his wife. Uh, so it wasn't initially a political move at all, but he's been watching it from afar and talking about how he feels so sad for America and with everything that's going on. Um, and he's glad, that he got out when he did. Uh, but he just was just like, this isn't the America that I know, and it's sad. And it's just like I feel like that's probably what a lot of countries are thinking about the US right now. And I know we're like ashamed sometimes to be an American in this situation. But I feel like the overwhelming consensus from other countries, especially in Europe, are, like, we're sorry. We feel sorry for Americans, at least the ones that didn't vote, for
Mhm.
the main guy. But it depends. I'm sure there's other ones that just loop us all in together, which whatever is fair. But it's yeah, no fun to be living through it. But I don't know what's to come, but it's just pretty depressing.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I think with I just it was yesterday this all happened. More is probably gonna unfold, and so far, I think Tim Walz activated, the, National Guard. We'll see what happens there. We'll see if there'll be more protests. The thing that I'm most concerned about is Trump doing the whole Insurrection Act, thing, because if midterms aren't going his way, uh, I believe we don't get to vote if that's enacted. Is that correct?
I think so.
I should probably Google that. Can you vote if the president invokes? Because
It's
I
either that
know,
or he can pull out those people in office and place other people in.
ooh. So, according to AI. So, no, invoking the Insurrection Act does not prevent U.S. citizens from voting. The act allows the president to deploy federal troops or federalize the National Guard to suppress insurrections, domestic violence, or obstructions to federal law enforcement, but it does not suspend voting rights, cancel elections, or alter the constitutional process for holding them. So, that's good. Uh, so, yeah, no authority to suspend elections. The Constitution, Article 2, and amendment sets the framework for federal elections, with Congress having primary power over timing and procedures. Via laws like the Help America Vote Act, the president has no unilateral power to postpone, cancel, or interfere with the elections under the Insurrection Act or any other emergency statute. Legal experts across the spectrum confirm this. Elections must proceed even during crisis or war and unrest. So, okay, that's good to know. Still gonna go with midterms, but I'm curious as to what he's gonna do. And we've had the Greenland situation. He's been wanting to invade them. We already kidnapped Venezuela's president. Now there's talks of Iran. There's talks of Greenland, and fuck, it's just like what what's next? And yeah, who's gonna
Well, and
protect us?
also all of this happening, what's happening with Gaza? Because I haven't seen any news in weeks about Gaza.
Well, they had that, uh, what's it called? The Davos, uh, conference thing, and they were doing presentations of what they wanted to do with Gaza, uh, and that I did see it circulated how gross that was, because 'cause they're just it's almost like Trump's AI where he was like, "The new Gaza." It feels like that's what they're doing,
Hmm.
and it's bizarre. It's concerning. Everything is concerning right now, but I do know the right side of the right hands, not the right hands, like the conservative talking points right now. Basically, they don't understand why the left is so upset about enforcing immigration. And they're like, you are preventing officers from doing their jobs and arresting violent criminals who are in this country illegally, who have done X, Y, Z. But the thing is, they have been lying so much we don't know what the fuck to believe. So they can blame the left as much as they want for being crazy. But you've lied so much. There's no way the left is going to trust that you're actually just going after violent criminals and etc. So at the end of the day, they're the ones to blame for being fucking liars.
Yeah. I mean, if they
And
were just going after violent criminals, that would be one thing. That would probably get bipartisan support 100%. No one wants violent criminals. but it's not violent criminals that they're taking. That's like a small percentage. They're taking mothers, they're taking children, they're taking, they're taking people who are legally going through the system, going to their appointments, and they're taking them at their appointments. Like, that's not taking violent criminals. So, and we've now had proof that they have taken multiple US citizens, people who were born, and they've detained them. They've detained, Native Americans just because their last name is Hispanic or because of the color of their skin, and you've had tribal, representatives fighting to find out where these tribal citizens are, and they can't find them. It's crazy.
It's fucked up. And they say, well, Obama, he, uh, what's it called? He kicked out more, illegal immigrants than Trump has. It's like, well, that was over 8 years. And you're just saying that Obama did a better job because no one was out, being killed on the streets and we didn't hear
Yeah.
about it.
That was over
So
8 years, and he followed due process. He
yeah,
followed the legal way of doing that.
yeah. It's like to this administration, due process is being shot on the street. So it's just not the same, and they can keep saying that as much as they want. And, granted, back in the Obama era, we were not as connected in social media. We were not constantly recording, and the political climate was not as tense. It was pre-COVID as well. It really, really picked up in the 2016 elections. All the chaos really picked up after COVID 2020. And so it's still kind of been stuck in that very tense kind of political climate. But at the same time, again, there's a big difference between, enforcing immigration and doing it properly, and then forcing immigration and just having it be all out chaos, not training your officers properly, and just not doing enough due process or investigative work of who you're even arresting. And they're sending them to weird camps, and like we don't even know where they're going. And they're the people who are opening up like alligator Alcatraz and all these things and to put people in. And so you don't want people to panic, but then why are you basically pushing people's buttons? They're constantly, quote unquote, trolling. And it's just like, cool. It's not fucking funny because we're about to go to civil war because y'all are trolling. So if you would be mature for 2 seconds, that would be great. Maybe realize there's a time and a place for trolling and joking, and now is not it. So yeah. So on that note, I think another thing. So there's videos floating around of his name's Jeffrey, right? Jeffrey Peretti or something like that. Uh,
Alex.
oh, Alex. Derp. All right. So this Alex guy, he worked for the VA, and there's this video of him reading this, soldiers. It was some guy's dad who passed away, and he was reading his last little, not rights, but like basically like this guy fought for,
Mhm.
and watching it, it just, man, it evokes so much emotion because you're like, this guy was such a good guy. You could just tell. And his family came out with a statement being like, saying how much of a liar the Trump administration is and to not believe that because their son was a good son.
Mhm.
And I just can't imagine, having your son who did everything right, essentially, and was died protecting a woman, which is something that conservatives love to pretend that they do, but they don't.
Mhm.
So he was protecting a woman and protecting people because he cared, and ended up getting shot. And they just try to assassinate his character after that. And it's just like you don't have to do that. You can own up to mistakes. People will
Mhm.
respect you a lot more. It's not going to make it okay because someone still died, but it'll make people a little bit more trusting in the
Mhm.
government or the situation if they're able to take responsibility for their mistakes. So, yeah, that's about all I have to say about that.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's sad when you have a government that doesn't take accountability, you know, because that's the only way that progress and change can be made is when you take accountability. And we posted a video from our last episode, or where it was like where we were talking about the Renee Good, and that kind of sparked some debates in the comments, right? And you definitely have far right where they're like, well, she antagonized, or she was a bad mom and she got her two kids taken away. Like, that was proven not true. But I think, as just as citizens, like, we need to have more empathy for our neighbors, because when it comes down to it, right or wrong, not right or wrong, but whatever side you're on, whether you're on the right or the left, like, you have to acknowledge that there is a failure in this administration, or at least within DHS, within this training. The fact that they're taking people off the street. I watched one woman who, it was a video where she was like, I'm gonna apply for ICE. She was like an
I think I
ex-military or
arrested that.
something like that. Yeah, and she was like, I'm just gonna go through, like, I don't want to work for ICE, but I just want to see how easy it is. And she's like, I went in, I had a 10-minute application fill in or interview or something like that, and then I left, and I got in my mail or my email, it was like, okay, in order for you to advance to the next stage, you have to fill out your background information, and we're going to do a background check and all of this. And she just didn't do it. She was like, she forgot about it. And then all of a sudden she got the acceptance, like, oh yeah, you're hired. You're starting. She's like, I didn't even do a
Yeah,
background check. Like, how am I getting hired? And it's stuff like that where it's like they're trying to. Trump wants to have such high numbers of getting people out that they're pushing, hiring these people. They've got the biggest budget out of anything in the whole country. Like, that's
hmm
insane that's got the biggest budget, like, we can't provide education to everybody. We can't provide healthcare to everybody, but we can spend a shit ton of money to kick people out of this country and to hurt other US citizens. Um, but they also used an AI program to advance potential employees through the training system. So normally you would have to do so many weeks of in-person training, but if you were a former officer, you only had to do so many weeks of online training. But they used an AI to sort that out. And so if you had officer written anywhere in your resume, even if it was like, I dreamed to be an officer someday, I worked as a janitor, like, it was like, officer, you're advanced and now you have to do 3 weeks of online training. That is a failure in the system. No
yeah,
one carrying a gun with any authority should be able to do that in 45 days or less of training. Like, that should be like, you need to have an education, you need to know law, you need to know rights, you need to know how to enter a strenuous situation if you're going to have a firearm, and know when to use that firearm, when not to use that firearm, when to use a taser, because a taser should be your first line of defense before a firearm. Like, none
yeah,
of this is happening, and then we're putting these mass people out on the street, and yeah, this is what's going to happen. It is absolutely insane. So the fact that we can't, as just Americans, no matter what side of the lane that you find yourself on, that you can't look at that and be like, okay, that is a failure. Whether or not you want these people out of the country or not, you know, they the people doing it should be trained, you
yeah.
know?
It's like, do it right. I think that's the biggest thing we're asking.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, if you are an illegal immigrant, if you are here and you are causing violence, if you are, hurting people, yes, you shouldn't be here. The law is the law. But if you are following processes, if you aren't a violent offender, we shouldn't be using violent tactics against you. Like, that's not okay. We shouldn't be asking anybody who has slightly tanned skin or has a Hispanic last name to prove their papers. Like this isn't the Gestapo. That's what it's turning into, but that's not what this is. That's not America. Like we should be able to live our lives, and if you do something wrong, you do something wrong and there's consequences. But our whole judicial system is based off of you're innocent until proven guilty. So none of this is following the Constitution, and it's sad. Like that's a huge failure in this administration, that no one is like, yep, this is where the straw is to this is the straw that hits the camel's back. This is too much. Like this is what needs to change. If we had that, if we could come together, both sides, and just be like, yeah, this is wrong. There needs to be accountability. Maybe there would be, but you have people that are so just like, don't even want to see it. Anything that they hear from, whether it's Fox News or Trump or, whatever, they're taking that, even though in front of their eyes, that's not what you're seeing. And it's just sad, because that's where we're gonna watch our country crumble, and it's hard to see if there's a way back from that without there being, you know, major damage, to just our political system, but also like, I'm scared that there could be a civil war. Like that is possible. You're now seeing National Guard get brought in against DHS, and Trump wants to bring in now military against them. It's just stacking up, and it's not looking good.
And also, like, what president in their right mind would do this shit? The president is supposed to unite the American people, and he's done nothing but divide from day one. And even that alone, I feel like is worth being like, fuck this guy. How can you still see him in this light? All they've been doing is trying to own the libs. They don't even give a fuck about improving people's quality of life. They just want to own the libs. So that's why we've not got any pluses at it. It's like, oh, well, grocery prices, well, still high as fuck. Rent, still high as fuck. Can't afford a house. Cost of living is crazy. And this is what he was campaigning on. And yet nothing has happened, because I think he just knew if he could get people to just be happy with owning the libs, then it didn't matter. But owning the libs doesn't show up in your bank account when you need to pay your bills.
I agree.
So on that note of the next chapter of owning the libs, do you want to talk about TikTok?
Yeah, take it away.
All right. So, whoops, I asked some ChatGPT questions and now I can't. Okay. So Oracle's TikTok takeover. So latest news of TikTok, the US bought a portion of TikTok in order to not ban it, essentially. And so here's the summary. The $14 billion deal finalized on January 22nd, 2026, where the Oracle-led consortium, including Silver Lake and Abu Dhabi's MGX, acquired majority control of TikTok's U.S. operations from ByteDance. This avoids a potential ban, with Oracle overseeing U.S. user data for security. It's a Trump-era revival, praised by President on Truth Social, building on Oracle's prior data hosting role since 2022. So, problem being, there was the latest, privacy or terms and conditions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in those terms and conditions, I should read them. I need to find them. Hold on, let me ask for them. Give me, folks, for the delay. Got to find the actual terms so I don't butcher it. Okay, let's see here. All right, so effective January 22nd. These are the full terms from the official U.S. page, now governed by TikTok USDS Joint Venture LLC instead of the old entity. So let's see. So key highlights. Shit. Sorry. Okay. Why isn't it giving me the actual terms and conditions? It's just giving me like a summary. Oh, here it is. Okay. These terms of service are an agreement between you and TikTok, USDS joint venture. So, regarding your access to and use of our services, which include TikTok applications, websites, software, uh, TikTok embedded media player, and related services, by accessing our or using the platform, you confirm that form a binding contract with TikTok, that you accept these terms, and that you agree to comply with them. Your use of platform is also governed by a privacy policy, blah, blah, blah. Come on, where's the rest of it? So you must be at least 13. You own your content, but grant us non-inclusive, irrevocable royalty-free license to use it worldwide for operating, improving the platform, including AI prohibitions, no scraping bots for AI interference, harmful, misleading actions. We can remove content or suspend accounts for violations, limitations of liability. Platform is as is. This is all bullshit. I don't know.
So
It's somewhere
so
out there.
basically, we're going from, I mean, our data's out there no matter what. The big issue is Oracle. Oracle is very connected with Trump and with the MAGA administration. Um, Basically, they now explicitly collect from your device. TikTok can directly collect your age, date of birth, your sex, location data. So that is huge. They have access to your location data, contacts, device identifiers, and IP address, biometric adjacent data. So your voice, your face geometry for filters, um, and then the inferred data that it collects. So TikTok, based on videos you watch to completion, videos you like, save, and rewatch, accounts you follow, hashtags you engage with, sounds, captions, comments, time of day usage, location, and community clusters. From this, TikTok can infer with high confidence your gender identity, your sexual orientation, your political ideology, your religious affiliation, ethnicity, and immigration adjacent signals. Um, while all of that right now isn't necessarily dangerous, um, it can be used in a bad way. So it can be used to profile LGBTQ people, Spanish dominant households, undocumented adjacent community, people who are politically radicalized. Which at this point, politically radicalized just be, you're a liberal, basically.
Disagreeing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, These labels may never be visible to you, but they shape what content you see, what ads you get, whether your content is boosted or throttled, and how your account is flagged internally. For minorities, this creates a digital visibility without consent. Now, the quiet threat is the future government access. Even with Oracle control and U.S. data storage, U.S. companies can be subpoenaed. Data can be accessed under national security claims, immigration enforcement, criminal investigations, and public safety. A future administration could legally request your location histories, your social graph data, internet clusters, and communication metadata. Um, the real big thing, data collected under a friendly administration doesn't disappear when power changes. If LGBTQ protections are rolled back, immigration enforcement expands, protest activity is criminalized, then historical data becomes retroactively dangerous. You have digital footprints and that you don't consent to. Minority communities already report sudden drops in reach, content removals with vague explanations, shadow banning of political or identity-based content. Even without malicious intent, algorithms often deprioritize controversial topics, suppress content advertisers, and favor safe mainstream narratives. Why the Oracle deal doesn't fully fix this. The Oracle agreement mainly addresses foreign state access, data location, and source code review. It does not reduce data collection, ban sensitive trait interference, limit ad tech profiling, prevent future U.S. government access, or create civil rights protections for algorithmic harm. In other words, TikTok is now legally safer for the U.S. government, but not necessarily safer for vulnerable users. Who should be most cautious? Especially cautious users should include undocumented or mixed status families, trans and gender nonconforming people, LGBTQ youth, political organizers and protesters, journalists covering state power, Muslim, Arab, or radicalized communities historically surveilled. Um, it doesn't mean you should delete TikTok immediately, but it means use it cautiously. And then the practical harm. If someone wants to stay on TikTok but reduce risk, you should disable precise location, avoid linking contacts, don't use TikTok for DMs or sensitive organizing, keep activism and personal life on separate accounts, avoid face tracking filters, regulate clear ad interest where possible. Assume everything you like teaches the algorithm. Treat TikTok as a broadcast platform, not a safe space. Don't rely on it as only organizing or income channel. So by keeping TikTok, it's not like end of the world, but there are some real world applications, especially for minorities, that should be considered. I've already deleted my TikTok, at least off of my phone. I know that Meta already collects a lot of this data too, but at least there's, I believe, like safer ways of like controlling what data goes out. Like there's a settings, whereas TikTok, it's not, at least that I've been able to see, it's not been easy to change. My big thing is like, if Oracle is so connected with the MAGA community or Trump, like I don't want them having access to my data. I don't want
No.
I don't want them knowing where I'm at. Like I'm not a threat, I'm not gonna do anything, but I also know that like they don't like trans people and I don't want them like if they decide that all trans people are illegal and they want to lock them up, I don't want them knowing my direct location. Um so that's definitely scary. Um and honestly I think even all of that aside, I think TikTok has become sort of like an addiction, where it's like anytime you have a chance, like I'll be taking the dogs out to the bathroom, and from the moment I step off the couch to walking to the back door, I'm on TikTok and I'm scrolling. You know, it's definitely an addiction, and while TikTok can be great for especially today, getting different perspective of news. Like if all you see is, Fox News and they're telling you this is what happened and you're not seeing all the videos of like people showing exactly what happened, yeah, your point of view is going to be very strict. Um I have signed up for Substack so I can at least stay up to date on news. Um
Yeah.
but I am trying to get away from making any application be my whole life. And, especially with everything that's going on, I think it's important to be in the moment more and be less um, connected to a device.
Yeah, for sure. It's like maybe it's a little blessing in disguise to, get away from the screen a little bit more. Uh, I never got into TikTok like that, luckily. I don't know why. I always saw it as like a temporary platform, kind of like Snapchat, uh, because it was just I don't even know. It's like it's super fast paced, but it's not as easy to navigate as far as finding specific things. I think TikTok's better at it now. But it just felt kind of random at first until your algorithm, learns you. But I like to be able to search for what I want to search for. So Instagram is pretty on point with that, or even if it's just YouTube. Like
Mhm.
I like to manually look things up. I don't want my feed just made for me, sort of thing. But yeah, I don't have much on there, so I'll probably just leave it there. But I don't care if I delete the app. I didn't use it, so it's definitely not. I mean, every social media right now, you probably want to be careful, just because like all the billionaires are in the back pocket of Trump. That means Zuck too. It's not like he's any safer. It's just another billionaire that will do whatever he wants to do or has to do to make more money and get more power. So it it definitely has made me a little more cautious. And I was thinking yesterday how uh I would see things on Twitter and I would just read whatever it was without reading the username and think it was just some kind of right wing talking point, and I felt myself wanting to say something. Then I saw the name, and it was either like Stephen Miller or Christy Noem or someone in the administration. I was like, I'm not gonna know. Like that's a little scary. So to even feel that way, like, you can't like. There's a potential they could show up at your door, which again, I'm not thinking I'm that important that it would happen, but you just like never fucking know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's that. Ultimately, just be careful no matter what platform you're using. If things get crazier, and I do want to say though, Substack is awesome. I was talking to you about this like before. Uh, I've been on it for a bit. I've never written anything on it. I've just had it, and I follow a few people now, and they're definitely making it into more of a social media network because before it was
Mhm.
just like a newsletter article situation, how you can monetize your writing. But now they've got like chats, and it almost looks like either Facebook. Yeah, it looks like Facebook. So
Mhm.
people can write things and you can do comments and stuff. So it's getting more and more Facebook like, but also is great for connecting with people, which is something that's really, really missing from today's social media, right? Because it's just so fast. Like TikTok, there's not a whole lot of interaction because you're just kind of going so fast.
Yeah.
And we need to slow down. And so I feel like Substack is cool because it's like the old school blog, but also with the addition of some connection with Facebook and stuff like that. Uh, so I don't know. Sorry, fanboying over Substack, but I just think that it's a refreshing pace in comparison to everything else right now. And then I'm like, I want to write, I want to do something, I want to create something for Substack, but I'm like, yeah, like okay, how much more am I going to add to my fucking plate?
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully Substack won't go down in flames. Because I know there's a lot of journalists on there, which I follow, and that's the main reason I'm on there too. But yeah, lots of shit going on. Yeah. Oh yeah. Did you see? So I've been also going down some fucking rabbit holes on X because why not? But apparently, the Department of War said that we have these what's it called? Uh, it's like something energy weapons. I don't know. Basically, it's like a really intense laser or something like that. Yeah. Let me see if we can find. But they basically were saying, yeah, we have these, so don't fuck with us. And I just thought it was interesting. I'm like, but is it real? Because the administration lies so much. Are they just trying to send a signal to people like, don't mess with the U.S. We'll kill you. Uh, but yeah, so direct energy weapons. Sorry, I couldn't figure out what that's. So shifting them from fringe conspiracy territory to official reality. Um, so it's tying into everything from Venezuela ops to wildfire theories. That was wild too. Havana syndrome and global arms races. This could be your next. Oh, I'm not gonna read that part. So it's like uh, DEWs use concentrated electromagnetic energy, lasers, high power, microwaves, etc., instead of bullets or explosives to disable, damage, or destroy targets. So think high energy lasers, HEL, burn through drones, missiles, or small boats. High power microwaves, fry electronics, cause nausea, vertigo, or disrupt systems with kinetic damage. And so that kind of goes in line with how they're describing. I don't know if you heard, there was this whistleblower or whatever that was working. It was a Venezuelan soldier or
Mhm.
something, and he was describing how it was when the U.S. came in, and he was like, they set off some sort of like sound wave that made
Mhm.
everyone just drop to the ground and like either started vomiting or like noses started bleeding or whatever, and they just disarmed them immediately, and they couldn't even get a shot off,
Mhm.
and that they were shooting something that was so quick that they couldn't even keep up. And so that kind of falls in line with what they're now saying that, oh yeah, we have these these weapons. So if you mess with us, we will use them against you. And now there's, more conspiracies that they use them to start California wildfires. And there's this video, this guy was live streaming some sort of Doppler thing because he was talking about the fires, and he actually caught this like laser in the Doppler. And yeah, it was real because it was live, like it happened
Mhm.
live. And then people were like, I remember watching your live streaming and wondering like, what the fuck? So it's just we're in this point where it's like, what is real anymore?
Hmm.
What is real? There's so many conspiracies out there. You can definitely find your way into psychosis, so be careful. But it's interesting how it's just like things that, you know, were conspiracy theories, like, are they coming real now? But again, we can't trust this administration, so I don't know.
It feels like we're in a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, definitely like apocalyptic times. So yeah, I don't know what to do. I feel like us millennials have gone through so much trauma. Like we're just we can't afford anything, can't afford to buy a house. Uh, about to be in a civil war. We've gone through two Trump, or we're gonna go through two Trump presidencies. Hopefully not three. I don't know, but yeah, fun times. Oh,
Well,
oh, I guess this kind of falls into what we're scrolling because this is what I'm scrolling. Uh, I came across. I think I sent you this video. Uh, I think her name is like lesbian lawyer mom or something. But she made this video about how in the Epstein files there's this girl that looks like Jean
yeah.
Jean Benet Ramsey, and they were comparing like time frames and Ghislaine Maxwell being at her pageants, and there's
Hmm.
actually a photo where they captured like a side profile view of Ghislaine in the photo, and Chamonix is like right there. And so there's some blacked out photos in the Epstein files, but you could tell that the girl has like blonde hair, and there's one where the jumper looks very similar. And I'm not gonna lie, I was looking at her hands trying to compare it, and it's like they're fucking similar. And so they're like, how deep is this sex trafficking ring? Or like, is there a connection with Jean Ramsey? And apparently her dad was close friends with Bill Clinton. So yeah, and I saw a comment where this lady was like, yeah, my daughter was pageant pals with Benet, and she saw Ghislaine there multiple times.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I don't know what's true or not, but it is very interesting. Just all the connections people are making, and then you just see more and more why they're not releasing the Epstein files, and it's not even just about the sex trafficking; it's deeper.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, that Sasha, what's his name? The guy who was talking about basically how he was sexually assaulted by Trump as a young kid.
Hmm.
Did you listen to those?
I saw some of it. I don't think I watched the whole thing.
Okay. Um, so super sad and crazy. Um, but the craziest part is we have so many people coming out with these stories about being abused by people in the administration, and it just gets nowhere. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Anywho,
Just gets brushed
what
under
have
the
you
rug.
been scrolling?
Not a lot. Let me see. I don't even know. I've been watching a lot of like uh home interior stuff. I think because of just how crazy life is. Like I'm like I want to focus on things I can control. So I'm like, oh, maybe I can paint my office, or I can, do something to like make some like positive change. Um so that's kind of been my scroll feed. Uh Watching wise, we started watching The Pit, so that's really good. We're really getting into that. Unfortunately, we started because like sometimes like when you like go on to like a streaming service, it'll be like, season two just started. Start with
Yeah.
episode one, and so like I clicked on that, and I was thinking they was starting me at episode one of season one, instead of season one of episode two. So we watched like two episodes of season two before we were like, oh, we're on season. Um, and so like it was luckily like the show like just as a second season like totally flows without having to know, like you
Yeah.
go into it and you learn who these people are still anyway. So that was cool. But yeah, so we then went back and started season one. I think we were like 6 episodes in. Um, so that's really good. We also just finished. We caught up with Bridgerton, so we finished season 3 of Bridgerton because the fourth season comes out this coming week. Um, that's kind of been it for what we've been watching. That and Fallout. We've been catching up on Fallout, so I think we've only watched the first episode of the second season, so we still have a couple more to watch. But yeah, that's basically what we've been watching. What about you?
Nice. Yeah, The Pit is one. We're on season 2, so we just watched the latest episode last night. Um, but yeah, glad you're getting into that and you're 6 episodes into season 1. It's definitely a good one. And then Top Chef as usual. And then I've also been watching this documentary. So after basically I watch documentaries as Des goes to sleep because anytime I have a documentary on, she falls asleep.
Mhm.
Uh, so there's this one. It's about this guy. It's like it's bad boy something. I don't know. It's on Amazon. This guy who murdered some women and went to jail, and how like women still wanted him and were basically still obsessed with him, and they kind of thought he was innocent, and it was a TikTok thing. They're
Mhm.
saying they thought he was innocent, and that was the whole thing, and they're trying to support him. But then come to find, he was definitely not innocent, and like all these girls that were trying to, pursue him, it it's crazy. Like the guy is just insane, and they were still just wanting to be with him. And even at like one of the ladies was in the court list, like to support him, and she couldn't really believe what she was here. She was like, "Oh my god," like basically it was her realizing that he actually did everything, and how it was, like, kinda heartbreaking and stuff. It was just like, oh, I mean, don't try to be with someone in jail. It just but yeah, so just an evil person, essentially. I don't remember the name of it, but that's all I've been watching. Yep. Should we wrap it up?
Yep.
Cool. You wanna wrap it up?
Yeah, so if you are like us and are scrolling through, doom scrolling, finding a hard place to survive in the media these days, um, make sure to follow, subscribe, like, comment, interact. Um, we're here for you. Uh, but yeah, no, seriously, we're all trying to get through all of this together. Make sure you join Cody's Discord channel, um, where not only does he talk about what's going on politically, and it's just kind of a place for people to get their stressors out and have a sense of community, but they also talk about fitness, nutrition, and just other things. So it's definitely a good place for a nice little local community. And yeah, I hope things get better. There's always room for hope. But we'll see what happens.
Yep. We will see. And then we will see y'all next week, and we'll let you know what happens in a week.
Yep.
All right. Peace out, guys. We'll talk to you next time.